Hey, I hope you're doing well. So, I just finished publishing 3 new videos to our YouTube channel that all featured interviews with world champion, national champion, senior, and adult players, ranging from winning championships in their 30s to their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, and now 70s. And the whole goal of the series was to help give players perspective and insight on how can we keep playing our best and feeling really good decade after decade after decade. And something a mental thing I'd really love to cue in on today in this message is the idea of who to compare yourself to. First of all, it's dangerous in the first place. I think the old saying is comparison is the thief of joy, if I remember correctly. In general, the more time you spend ruminating on yourself compared to other people, it's hard to stay motivated. It's hard to stay inspired when you're constantly looking at what everybody else has that's better, better than you. That being said, competition is basically all about comparison. Like you're literally walking out there on the court and saying, okay, here's my tools, here's my physical attributes and resources. Let's see how they do compared to your tools, your physical attributes and resources. And it's literally like direct, comparison. So of course it's going to happen, and you're going to be exposed to what other people are doing and what's working better than what you're doing and what you're doing that's better than other people, so on and so forth. Like that's competition, right? But if you're going to avoid one thing, I think in my experience interviewing all these legendary adult and senior players, a pattern that came up over and over again was they were constantly looking at the comparison between themselves and their peers in their age group. What they were not doing was looking in the rear view mirror. They were not looking to hindsight and ruminating on, oh man, I used to be able to do XYZ, time in this run or this bike, course, or, working out. Like I used to be able to do XYZ. I can't now because I have this limitation and this injury and this thing is bothering me. And if you're constantly looking in the rearview mirror as you get older, as you go through your 40s and 50s and 60s, and if you're constantly looking backwards, then you're going to be frustrated. It's going to be really hard to have a positive attitude. It's going to be really hard to be motivated and inspired day after day after day to do the work, because it is work. Like if you're going to feel fantastic and play great in your 50s or 60s or 70s, like that's not just going to, you're not going to just get lucky and have that happen. Like there has to be very intentional, purposeful work that goes into it, or else it's not going to just magically happen. So if a lot of your mental, headspace is spent looking in the rearview mirror, the chances of you being motivated to actually do the work when you're constantly feeling down and pessimistic and discouraged about what you used to be able to do, but now I can't, man, it's going to be really hard. The chances of sticking with it year after year is just super, super low. So what I heard from these 6 legends very consistently from person to person to person was they were constantly comparing themselves to their peers right at their age group. And a lot of these players are really good for their age, and so they'll spend time training. Like somebody in their 60s might spend time training with somebody in their 30s or their 40s. But they're not worried about the gap in physicality. They're not worried about the gap in longevity in terms of like how long they can train or the intensity level or how much energy they have or like how much topspin they hit, as an example. It's a different style of play year after year. And that's part of the secret of like longevity, is being okay with that and making adjustments to your expectations, making adjustments to your training, making adjustments to the tools that you try to develop in your toolbox, so on and so forth. But if you're constantly looking to those 10 years younger, 20 years younger, 30 years younger than you are, then you're going to get frustrated. If you're looking to those within a year or two of where you are now, then you can be really motivated and inspired because, let's be honest, as most people get into their 50s or 60s or 70s, their own personal, motivation really drops and they stop doing so much to kind of take care of themselves. So if they are doing this, you are doing that, and you're kind of on the upswing of really taking it seriously, taking care of your body off the court, eating well, sleeping well, hydrating well, doing all those kind of basic things that everybody knows they're supposed to do. But if you just do it, even an okay job in a bunch of those areas, then you're going to have a big edge. You're going to have a big advantage compared to your peers. So if you can compare yourself mostly to your peers and not be so, mentally, psychologically concerned about what you used to be able to do and what players 20 years, 30 years younger than you used to be able to do, then you're going to have a much better chance of being happy, being satisfied, being fulfilled, and having the motivation, having the inspiration to actually do the work day after day. So hopefully that makes sense. Competition is comparison, but be careful who you really directly compare yourself to. Don't compare yourself to yourself 20 years ago. And don't compare yourself to people 20 years, 30 years younger than you. Look around and look at your peers, like right around your same age, your same level. And if you can just do 5%, extra, 10% extra than they are, then you're going to set yourself up for much more success, much more happiness for decades and decades to come down the road. Hopefully that makes sense. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.